Hey, everybody, I'm Regina Bryan, and welcome to the Women of Empowered Living. My guest today was born and raised in the beautiful island country of Jamaica and planned on staying there for the rest of her life. Even after getting married, Angela was in no real hurry to move to the United States. And then a traumatic event forced her to move to the US with just a suitcase. After experiencing culture shock and enduring those harsh New Jersey winters, Angela and her husband have two beautiful children and have built an incredible life here. Then in 2019, she was faced with that question that kind of comes for all of us. What do I want to do with my life? Well, that led her to the John Maxwell team, and then, of course, here to Empowered Living, where we are blessed to have her serve as one of our team ambassadors. And we are blessed to have her here today to share her story. Angela Baptiste, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Regina. Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, my pleasure indeed. So tell us first, where in the world are you today? You have a beautiful bookcase behind you. Where are you?
Oh, I am in Sugar Hill, Georgia. It's maybe in 45 minutes to an hour from the airport. So pretty, most times, in order not to complicate it, I say Atlanta.
Yes, I do too. And what is ridiculous about this? I'm going to just tell on myself now at the beginning. I thought I knew you and I lived in the same metro area. I thought, okay, Angela's Atlanta, but I thought you were so much further out. So I thought you were like an hour or 90 minutes away from me. We are probably less than 20 miles apart. I mean, it's incredible how close we live to one another. I was excited to,
Yes. I sense a lunch or something coming up soon.
you know what? I'm so glad because when you and I are finished with this interview, so as you guys are watching this, the minute Angela and I wrap, we are going to set a lunch date for at least in the next month to 6 weeks. No longer than that.
No
We're
longer.
gonna date.
Awesome.
So
Looking forward to it.
that's just how excited I am to know that you live this close to me. And so, Angela, what do you do right now in Sugar Hill?
Well, I'm a coach, trainer, speaker with Maxwell Leadership. Having worked in the corporate arena for several years, as I told you, in 2019, I didn't want to be retired, and I got the news that, okay, well, you have a choice. And I decided, well, I'm choosing this to retire. And at the same time, I wanted to say, okay, what do I want to do with my life? And after exploring different things, it's like Maxwell leadership just came to me. And I recognized that this was the perfect fit for me. And so I've been doing this since 2019.
That is incredibly awesome. And I want to come back to that. But first, I'm one of these Americans that while I've traveled a little bit, I've mostly lived in this country. My dad was military, so we did live abroad in Cuba for just a couple of years. But I'm obsessed with how people live in other countries. And so
Mhm,
talk to us a little bit about life in Jamaica. You spent a good deal of your upbringing uh,
mhm.
there. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, yes, I was born and raised in Jamaica. My husband teases me that I'm a country girl, because I was born in the country. My grandfather was a farmer. If you ate it, he planted it, right? So anything you could think about, he planted it. I never saw him wake up later than maybe 4 a.m. Because he always had to get the workers going and all that stuff. So grew up on a farm in Yorton, St. Catherine, in Jamaica. And
And
then,
like, how would is that near one of the big cities or the resorts? Where is that?
well, no, it's central Jamaica. So it's right in the middle. So if you've heard about Ocho Rios, it's maybe not too far from Ocho Rios. So that's where I was born and raised. And then when I was 10 years old, that's when I got my common entrance to go to high school. And so then the school
At
that I
10 years old?
10, yeah.
Wow, we don't consider high school age here until about 15 or so.
Mm,
So at
yeah.
10, wow.
Yeah, so at 10, and that's when my mom, she said, well, where we lived in the country was just too much of a commute. So I went to the city, Kingston, to live with my aunt. And so that's where I spent most, and that's where I ended up meeting my husband. Because it's funny because Chris and I, we've dated since I was in third, fourth form in high school.
Wow. So you were high school sweethearts, basically.
Yes.
That's wonderful. So he's Jamaican as well.
Yes.
Okay. Did he live in the Kingston area and leave for the United States? I mean, wow.
Yes.
Dates.
Yes. His grandma lived across from my aunt. So we were like this from each other. So we would give each other Google eyes, I call it. And so then so whenever he came back and forth, we would always, link up. And he always promised me that we were going to be together forever.
Wow. So he knew that even when you all were incredibly young.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. And so, Angela, did you end up finishing your education in Jamaica? And did Chris?
Chris left after high school. I finished my bachelor's in Jamaica, and I actually worked for the Central Bank of Jamaica there, and that was after because I got married at 19 years old,
19.
and yes.
And so a job like working at the Bank of Jamaica, that's one of the more prestigious jobs, I'm guessing, in your country. And I know your country is typically hospitality is like the big industry there. And
Yes,
so,
tourism.
and I guess once you get a job, something like the bank or in a thriving area or a thriving business, you stay at those jobs. Is that right? Is that what kind of kept you tied to Jamaica, even though Chris came to the United States?
Yes, because every time we would just travel back and forth, for vacation. Because I would get long vacations, like 6 months vacation. And so I'd be gone for 4 months and then I go back home and I work and whatever. So it was never something where I was really saying, okay, planning on it.
Right. It just was like, okay, eventually I'll move to the United States to be with my
Mhm,
husband. And I actually love that. I love that back and forth. I think that
mhm,
that can work in so many marriages, especially
mhm.
when you had this job that you were proud of.
Yes.
So talk to us about the eventually making that move to the United States. What happened to really kind of force your hand in that?
Well, one evening I was coming home and stopped at the light, and two robbers came in on me. And I've learned a lesson from that as well. But they came in on me and they both had guns, one in the back, one in the side. And
Angela,
they
let me
just
let me slow that down for 1 second. So you're driving home one evening, you're at the traffic light stopped, and two men with guns get in your car with you.
mhm.
How old were you?
Early 20s, maybe 21, 22.
I can't even fathom that. Okay, I'm sorry. I just have to kind of put myself in your shoes for a second.
Mhm.
That here you are, this young woman, and two men get in the car with you.
Yes, I don't know how I didn't wet my pants, but I did. I didn't. I was so scared because I didn't know what to do. And they told me just to drive. And at first they started, I don't know where they were going to take me, right? And then they searched my pocketbook and everything, and they saw my Bank of Jamaica ID. And then that's when they decided they were going to come to my house.
Wow, it was that Bank of America, Bank of Jamaica ID. And did that lead them to think because of your job, she probably has a lot of great stuff in her home?
Mhm.
What was going through your mind as you're driving home with these two gentlemen? What are you thinking in those moments?
I'm thinking, should I really go home? Should I drive to the police station? I had a girlfriend who she lived in a community that they had a guard, right? And I was wondering, should I drive up there? But I was like, I don't want to cause problems for anyone else. So I'm thinking all these things and I'm like, not sure what to do. But the long and short of it is that I drove them home. And the way my home was set up, it was you drive in and you drive down into the garage. And they always left the garage open until I got home. So I just drove in and brought these criminals to my home.
I mean, at that point, you're just thinking you're doing the best you can. You're trying not to do anything that would have them want to attack you.
Right, harm me, yeah.
And so, what happened when the three of you got to your home?
Well, I opened the because in Jamaica we have these big burglar bars, right? So I opened the burglar bar that's supposed to protect me, and I opened it and actually let these men in. And I had a helper there who, stayed with the baby, and they locked all of us up in one of our closets and just plundered the house and packed up everything, and luckily they didn't harm us though. So
And
that was a
so,
blessing.
how long were you all locked up while they were kind of just packing up the house?
It seems like hours. It seems like hours.
Oh my gosh! And I mean, in those moments, because fortunately, most of us will not be in a situation like that. And so, again, I'm just trying to understand what you were going through in those moments. So, as you were locked up together, what were you guys saying or thinking about this as they're kind of rummaging the house?
Praying. We
Yeah,
were praying really, really praying hard and asking God to protect us, because in the whole scheme of things, you could replace things, but we cannot replace our lives. And we were just praying, and they left us. They left us locked up, and to be honest, I don't know how we screamed and screamed and screamed, and our neighbor said they had heard stuff,
oh,
but they actually are the ones who came and unlocked the door and let us out.
oh my gosh. And then what happened after that? I mean, what were those next days and weeks like for you?
It was traumatic for me, and because then the police came. It was why traumatizing, because they even thought I was lying, because they kept asking me, "Did they rape you?" And I'm like, "No, they didn't rape me." And so they thought that I was lying, that I maybe just didn't want to admit that I was, but thankfully to God they didn't.
Thank
And
God.
they did not harm us at all. Not even a touch or anything. They
Wow.
just took the things and left.
Yeah,
So
they
that was a blessing.
oh my gosh, Angela. Wow. And so what happened in your life next? Like you call your husband, Chris, who's living in New Jersey. He's here in this country. And then what happens?
He just pretty much says, pack up your bags and within a week I was all right. I was gone.
Was
Me
just
and
ready
the
for on plane to New Jersey.
October, and that in itself was horrible for me. That was a hard one to swallow, because when I came, I mean, he had bought me a coat and everything, right? But still, it's like I couldn't get warm. I just couldn't get warm.
You leaving this beautiful Caribbean nation for New Jersey in October. That by itself was enough to be even adding more trauma to the traumatic event that you'd been through. Oh
Yes.
my gosh. And he just insisted. So you never went back to live in Jamaica. That was
No. No, I visited, and I go maybe once a year. At least I try to go, because I still have one aunt that lives there. And even last year she had lost her husband, so I went to spend time with her, but never to live.
wow. And so what did you do? I mean, you left your home hastily. You left your job. You left everything behind after that event, came to New Jersey. So, what were your next steps like being brand new to this country?
Well, I stayed home for a while, because Renee was a baby, and Dion was maybe 2 or 3. And so I stayed home for a little while. And then I got a job as a customer service representative in a company. that was doing inventory control. I'll never forget that.
And why do you say you'll never forget that?
Because it was hard. I was coming from a different country
Yeah.
and just facing the whole idea of racism that was new for me. And even the way I spoke was different. So that was challenging. The words, some of the words that I said was different, so that was a challenge to overcome.
So what was the feedback? What was the day to day with your colleagues like at work?
Sometimes they found it funny the way I spoke, and they would, like I'd say inventory, and they said inventory. I said inventory and they said inventory, or just simple things, and they thought it was funny, and it was so demeaning to me, just broke my heart. And so for a long time it was just hard. And I remember many days where I would cry, because it just was just horrible. And I would think about, oh my gosh, do I have to keep going through this? But you know what, you push through and you realize you could do this. And so I did it and I thrived, you know.
Yeah.
I kept on growing.
And so you stayed with the same company for a while and sort of climbed the corporate ladder, so to speak. I mean, what was your career trajectory like?
Well, I stayed there for a long time and then I we moved to Georgia. And then in I started working with a telecommunication company. And that's where I stayed for 26 years. And started out in customer service and ended up in the management environment and leading. And it was a great career, really great career.
Angela, what led you all from New Jersey to make the move to Georgia?
That's a funny question because, we came on vacation and it's funny because when we came in maybe 93.
Okay,
And the Olympics was going to come in in a few years and everything,
that's
and
right.
we just fell in love with the place. It was warm, right? No snow. It was like a no-brainer. And Chris and I were like, okay, we're going to come and blah blah. We just started planning, and we planned for a year, and then we moved here in 94. And let me tell you, his mom was livid. She was livid. And to this very day, she'll tell you that we took away her grandkids.
Oh no. She
Yeah, she says that. She's like, you took our grandkids.
Are they still in Jersey?
Oh, yeah, they'll never move.
The harsh winters just, too much. So you guys have been thriving in Atlanta and you stayed with I think you were with Verizon and you said
Mhm.
for 26 years.
Yes.
So what eventually, led you to kind of close that chapter on that career and move into this new world of coaching and speaking?
Well, oftentimes you will, and I teach it to people now to say, design your life, because if you don't design and create your own life, then sometimes you'll get a shock or a surprise, right? Well, one day I just went in because everything was beautiful. My team was growing. We always were meeting our quotas, doing really well, right? But who would believe that they would say, we're going to just no longer have operations in Alpharetta? And
Wow.
so you have a choice. You could go here or here. And I was like, neither of those work for me. So because they didn't work for me, I'm like, okay, I'll just say goodbye. And then I was still contemplating because I didn't know what I wanted was going to do with my life. I was like, okay, because I really had planned to be there until I retired. But
Right.
guess what? They had different plans, right? And
Right.
so it's so good for us to design our own lives. So I decided I didn't want to do that, go back into corporate America. I wanted to be designing my own life and creating for myself. So that's what I started doing. And
that.
explored so many different options until I landed on the Maxwell leadership.
And what made you kind of take that offer when you see the John Maxwell advertisement? Why did you go with that?
He spoke to me. He really spoke to me, my values.
Mhm.
He was a previous pastor. He believed in God, he didn't curse because some of the people that I was listening to, they would curse. And not that nothing wrong with what they're doing, right? Because they get that shock value or
Right?
whatever, but that wasn't what I wanted to represent. So he had those values that I felt safe, that I could represent and add value to the people who I wanted to
Oh,
serve.
I love that. That's so good. And I think that's why a lot of us ended up
Mhm,
Maxwell leadership because our values were just in alignment. And then I
mhm.
know that being in Maxwell leadership ultimately led you here to empowered living.
Yes.
So how did you
Uh,
make your way here?
Paul just, it was amazing. I mean, I joined, it was totally new to me, right? And whenever he would just, I mean, I remember he sent me an new to the team and everything, and he just sent me an email to say, Angela, I was on one of his calls or whatever, and he just sent me an email he's like, I see you. One of those emails like I see you and I see that you're one, and that just like, when people are like that to you, you're just like, wow. Because I didn't do anything special or whatever. It's just that he wanted to know that, yes, I saw you on the call, and yes, you can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. And
Oh
I'm
my,
sure if you ask him, he maybe don't even, he might be just something that he does, right? But it was so special to me that I just wanted to learn more about who this guy was. And, anything that he was involved with, I would be trying to be a part of it. And that's when I found out about empowered living, started listening, and then, it's like, okay, if they're adding value, then let me try to do help as well and do something as well.
that's fantastic because it's more than a community. It becomes a family.
Mhm.
And I know right now, as you and I record this show, we're in the middle of the Think and Grow Rich study. And I'm going to put you on the spot about that for just a second because you've been involved in Think and Grow Rich. Am I right, Angela? I've seen you on the Zoom. Okay.
Yes, yes.
It's pretty fabulous. This
Oh
particular.
my gosh. Oh
So
my gosh.
wanted you
It's
to
so
take
amazing.
and maybe share any takeaways or what you're feeling and what you're learning as you're going through this, just because it's been so amazing.
Yeah. It's so rich. I mean, when you think about the fact that, your thoughts, what you think, right, becomes your destiny, right? So
Right.
you could create, and I like when he says you're a creator,
Yes.
right? So you're creating these things, right? And it's like, wow, once I know that, right? That means I need to start, as he talks about, you challenge those limitations, because there's no limits. The only limits are the one we put on ourselves. And we're so good to put those limits because I'm guilty, right? I put limits on myself, but going through these classes is a reminder, Angela, there are no limits. You should, and even if the thoughts come in, you know, have a fight with them. Say, no, 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 no. You're lying.
That's right. This has been just a brilliant Think and Grow Rich study. And that's why I just wanted to take a second because it's been so amazing. And
Hmm.
Angela, who do you normally work with as a coach and speaker? Tell us a little bit about your business.
Okay. Well, to be honest, I don't have an ideal client, right? So,
God
I
says anything that can fog a mirror.
right, because I even have a couple that I'm working with right now. So, if if they're interested in growth and development, then I am perfect for them. I like to work with people who are going to do what they want to, it's not like, because I don't want to waste their time and I don't want them to waste my time. So if I sense they're wasting my time, then I'll have the conversation to say, maybe do you really want to do this? Or do you want to really, are you ready? Because I'm really serious and passionate about getting them from where they are to where they desire to be. So that's what so I work with individuals. I have a lot of business clients. So I'd say 40% is business clients. And I do like non-for-profits, like I do a lot of churches. They have me come speak for them. And so it just depends.
That's wonderful. And one last thing, since we're in the empowered living community, I have to ask you, what does an empowered life mean to you?
Wow. I think for me, what it means for me to be empowered, I have the power to control everything, right? So it is within me. I'm able to seek and support what I need. And I'm equal. I'm an equal citizen,
Yes, you,
whether it's in my home, in my work, or my community. Being recognized and realize that I can contribute to whatever it is, to that growth of whatever it is for that, for myself or for whoever else.
you sure do, Angela. You're a big part of our community here. And it's just been, you've been on my radar as someone that I needed to have a conversation with. So you've been so wonderful to share your story, some of the things you've been through with us, and we're going to just put your information here. So if anybody wants to reach out to you that's looking for a coach or a speaker, they can just reach out to you directly. And Angela, I have to, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sitting down to chat with me for a few minutes today.
Oh, sure. It was fun. It was definitely fun. And look forward to working and talking with you.
Thanks so much, Angela, and thanks everybody for watching today. See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.